must have gotten stuck on the driveway.
Here they are.
Should I hit this time? Just don't spin out the tires. Take two. Eating a pepper jack cheese stick.
I'm gonna do a hidden camera.
Hello. Are you ready to face the spinner of sorrow?
I'm so ready to be sad.
Welcome.
Exciting.
Who's our intro?
This is the intro. Oh, nice socks.
Thank you.
Reveal the wheel.
They're all terrible Simpsons episodes.
Oh.
Okay, I can be excited about that.
I went through the list on IMDb and picked out some that had a combination of bad ratings, and the descriptions sounded awful.
We reveal the spinner of sorrow.
Oh no.
First up, we have Working Mom, which is in search of a job. Marge gets one selling plastic food storage containers as a drag queen. We have the greatest story ever told. Ned takes the Simpsons on a pilgrimage to Israel, which just has to be offensive. There's no way it's not. Next up, we have The Devil Wears Nada. Pretty great pun. Marge rediscovers her sexuality after appearing in a racy calendar, but Homer is too tired to respond to her advances. Next up, we have A Midsummer's Night Dream. After Tommy Chong walks away from the Cheech and Chong reunion tour, Homer goes on the road as a replacement.
I should know who those people are, but I don't.
Oh, I forgot to spit it. Next
How
we
dare
have
you?
Moe goes from rags to riches. While Bart tries to regain Milhouse's friendship, Moe's bar-cleaning rag tells his unlikely story of how he got to where he is today. This is the second worst reviewed Simpsons episode on IMDb. Oh, next we have one that I desperately want to be selected. What to expect when Bart's expecting. Bart becomes a savior to Springfield couples trying to conceive when he inadvertently uses voodoo to get his art teacher pregnant.
Yes!
I just have to know what happens in that episode.
I would like to watch that episode no matter what.
Next up, we have Lisa Goes Gaga, which an important note is the second lowest Simpsons episode has a 5.2 on IMDb. This one has a 4.3. So this is decidedly the worst one, according to the viewers.
I've heard about this one.
After a desperate attempt by Lisa to become more popular backfires, Lady Gaga shows up in Springfield to help her with her self-esteem.
Yay.
Which sounds, I think that sounds as painful as it will be. And lastly, we have Pasta Wars. Garfield insists on his traditional birthday treat, a portion of lasagna for every year. This is the Garfield.
What? Wait, this isn't a Simpsons episode?
No. This is Jordan's Garfield television show that is on Netflix.
I really want to see it. I want to see it more than I've ever wanted to see anything else.
It's from 2009. And it has like 5 seasons. So, it's the first episode, so we're gonna see.
I'm really looking forward to Pasta Wars. I hope we land on it.
I'm with you. I'm really hoping for what to expect when Bart's expecting.
I
don't know. It's just these choices are just too good to make a decision.
Well, is it time to spin the spinner of sorrow?
Yeah, I think we let Josh spin first.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Alright.
First spin.
I'm hoping for what to expect when Bart's expecting.
Good spin. The
The devil wears nada! Marge is in a racy calendar, but Homer's too tired to respond to her advances.
Okay, let's
Okay, let's do it.
This is not the episode that I was hoping to get.
No, I
Full
wasn't either.
disclosure.
Yeah, despite my reaction on the wheel, this is actually the one I was hoping for the least.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes.
Racy Marge makes me uncomfortable.
Amen to that. I was telling Jordan about that earlier.
And I've been learning to speak Mandarin Chinese. Fakul Choi. That's garbage. That's total
It's not
garbage.
racist. They just suck.
Oh. Where's Marge?
Yeah, into the racy calendar.
Homer and I never do it anymore. Cook together, that is. Homie?
Honey, I know it's been a rough couple of weeks, but I booked us a night this Saturday at a very romantic hotel.
Garden View?
Ocean view. Obstructed.
Oh. When will you touch me?
Okay, kiss me, baby. Kiss me like a frog in a fairy tale.
Okay, wow, that was awful. Let's move to our next spin. Go for it.
I am hoping for more smut.
Yeah! No! Oh! Yes! Oh!
Hostile Wars!
It really happens. We're watching Garfield.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna watch Garfield.
Everyone loves Garfield.
I am so upset by this. Alright, this is the intro.
We got
It's like a let's play.
Hello.
the Bill Murray impersonator.
Very important day. Wakey, wakey. Oh, I hate to do this. No, I don't.
What were those teeth?
Oh, I'm sensing a dream sequence is coming.
Howdy. They're coming for me.
Is
Get a
this
post.
a dream?
Hope not.
Garfield is on.
Of vital importance for you.
I am a colleague, the attack on the innovation of planet exalted leader.
How is there more? Because there's another one. Okay.
Excellent. Mother Garfield.
It seems like it wrapped up pretty well.
I'm not your mama. I'm a cat. Honest. I am. Here, listen to this. Meow. Meow.
I questioned
It's a
it.
band and the little fellas, but I don't know anything
I think
about
Garfield's a
taking care of
human
business,
pretending to
right?
be a cat.
It's like cool cat saves the
It
kids.
looks like cool
Not
cat.
mama. Well, why are you
It
unclear
would
on this
explain the
concept?
scary wrinkles in his feet.
No, it explains why the babies are blue.
What baby?
What?
The baby birds are blue.
Totally.
Cool cat's blue.
Cool cat is not blue.
Orange.
This
And
is
he's orange.
Are you thinking of Avatar?
Are you thinking of the Smurfs?
I'm hoping for anything besides A Midsummer's Night Dream. No! It hit the tape! It hit the tape and bounced back!
Gaga!
You could have been watching What Do You Expect When Bart's Pregnant.
See that town? Goes by the name of Springfield, birthplace of the brass knuckle, the Nigerian prince game, and putting a tomato in your grilled cheese sandwich. Our story begins not long ago. On what seemed like a typical day.
Ralphie, please, that's not for people, son. Oh, he's a dumb kid, but he's an above-average dog. Roll over, son.
Little did they know a change was coming.
The storms are coming.
Tain't no storm, Pa. It's the Lady Gaga Express.
Wait, it's actually Lady Gaga?
Yeah.
It's not a character inspired by Lady Gaga?
They don't do that anymore.
They just have lazy celebrity cameos in lieu of jokes now.
You're about to pass through, Springfield.
Springfield, what's their deal? As entertainers, it is our solemn duty to cheer them up for a little while.
Gaga, it's my job to keep you away from ugly bumps on a map like Springfield. Don't worry, we'll get you right on a plane.
No, remember what happened at LaGuardia?
You missed your flight.
Then we'll party on the boarding ramp.
The boarding ramp didn't even collapse. Where was the joke?
They set up for a joke and then they didn't have it.
We're stopping in Springfield. No bus.
So, who would like to tell us what happened in Devil Wears Nada?
I think Caitlin should know. Jeez.
I think Caitlin's going to.
I think it's Caitlin's turn.
Please tell us what happened.
Ooh, I love it. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. Okay, stop. We got plenty. All right, who's my next sexy historical lady?
Okay, Marge did a photo shoot for calendar. Homer got promoted and was very stressed because of his work. And they were on two different trains of thought about how their nights should go.
Okay.
Cover your eyes,
Oh.
Caitlin.
Okay.
Oh, full nudity.
Okay, I'm going to take over because you completely forgot that Marge made a porn calendar that was viewed by every member of the town, and she became really horny.
How about a little Marge madness?
And she wanted to have sex with Homer, but he didn't want to because he was stressed from his work.
Yes, working for Carl.
Yes, see Carl Carlson.
Homie, everyone loves my calendar.
Oh boy, here we are.
Only you get to flip the pages.
Calendar, oh my god, I forgot to move Carl's 12:30 to 2:30. His astrologist will show up at the same time as his astronomer. This is not good, this is not good.
And he went to like France and they kind of fell apart, and then she was like gonna have an affair with Ned Flanders before eventually Homer spoilers, Homer comes home and they make love.
Yeah.
I have a question about the plot for Caitlin.
Oh, jeez.
I go for it.
Could you describe what happens the first night when Marge wants to have sex with Homer?
Yeah.
Can you describe what happens?
Homer goes crazy.
First off, they were playing a game with some dice where they wanted to like lick each other's elbows.
Well, I brought a few items to make our night extra special.
What are
Massage oil, some lingerie from the horny hubby, and snuggle dice. This one has an action, and this one has a body part, see?
That's elbow.
Nuzzle, neck, whip.
They got lucky.
Lick.
Oh, they
try again.
made the
Which is kind of weird. But then Marge is basically flashing it.
Yeah, Marge takes her shirt off.
Marge flashes Homer, and what he sees instead of Marge's boobs are Carl's heads.
two of them.
Two of Carl's heads. Homer had the same reaction as us. Homer had the same reaction as us.
It would be a turn-off to anybody.
Anybody.
Oh, and then there's the scene where Homer is seeing Marge everywhere
Yes.
on, like, the streets of Paris.
Yeah.
And he sees her head, like, in a bush.
Out a
or
windmill.
In a
The
windmill.
baguettes.
But then, just randomly in the last scene, he sees Moe's head.
No, it's just like Mo.
It's like the
On
topiary.
a gargoyle.
Oh, on a gargoyle.
Oh, good. It wasn't that.
That's Mo. Why is it Mo? I was really intrigued to see where that would go.
It's like Marge, Mo.
I thought that that was gonna turn into something. Like that would be a really big turning point
Yeah,
in the relationship between Homer and Mo.
So, like, they go to church, and Marge is, like, really stressed out about, like, oh my, they all saw my calendar, and nothing happens. Like, there's never an interaction where her being, like, basically nude in a calendar is bad.
Her kids get made fun of in school.
Yeah, but, like, she's like, scared about it, and then all of a sudden she just forgets that, and just...
Yeah.
And then the next scene,
It's
she's just
fine.
full of self-confidence.
It's fine.
And also, like, so... it just doesn't work. And also, what they did with Flanders in that. Ned Flanders would never, like, see you in a nude calendar and go, I want you.
I learned that Ned Flanders is ripped today.
Yeah,
Yes,
same.
he's a hunk.
I really don't know that much about Ned Flanders.
Well, you thought his name
If you
was
were-
Flanders, so I think we figured that out.
Did you enjoy The Devil Wears Nada?
No, it made me uncomfortable more than anything.
Mrs. S, you can tuck me in any time. Okay, wait.
Yeah, I would say, scenes in bed with Marge and Homer are fairly uncomfortable, even in the early season. I just remember Marge being like, rawr, rawr, in, like, one of the early seasons, like, I did not need to see that. And, like, it's just kind of weird, and then when you make it, like, late season, it gets even weirder, and then when Homer's, like, really not into it, it becomes even weirder.
Yes, when Homer started snoring while they were kissing and, like, blowing her face up.
Tomorrow, my love.
That thing with the yawning and the snoring and her mouth going like that, I did not need to see.
That was very uncomfortable.
She, like, inhaled his breath through her mouth.
That made me
It
uncomfortable.
was like CPR, but with someone who has elastic lip cheeks.
The thing about it was, none of the constructed jokes worked. There were some, like, nice non sequitur moments,
Yeah.
like, Mo, that was good.
Or the man in the boat who tied the motor around his neck and jumped in.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot about
Like,
it.
that made me laugh.
A man in the boat representing Homer's libido, like, hung himself from his motor and drowned himself at the bottom of a lake.
No, who am I kidding?
He hung himself.
Time-moves are funny. Okay, I will grant that.
Yeah.
And that made me laugh.
Okay, Jordan, tell us what happened in Garfield, the Pasta Wars, and Mother Garfield.
Pasta Wars was a story about Garfield's birthday. And every year
Not
on
much.
Garfield's birthday, John makes him a lasagna for every year.
All right, Garfield, your birthday lasagnas are ready.
Look at him. Oh my, his teeth!
His teeth keep changing shape.
This year, John was one piece short.
I've been shortchanged.
There, I've added the new footage. I have over.
Garfield went to sleep, which would have been a good time for a dream sequence about lasagna from space. But instead, the fact that he was asleep didn't matter. There were actual lasagna monsters that lived in space with Italian accents that watched Garfield eat that much lasagna and thought that he was a threat to their species. So they come down to Garfield's house to do something.
I think they're trying to, like, capture him.
But when they see him, they run away.
No, so what happens is they're gonna, like, capture him or something, but then they see John's supercut of Garfield eating lasagna for 6 hours and they get scared.
I'm going to edit this into my lasagna home video montage.
My favorite thing about the entire episode was that John takes a home video of Garfield eating lasagna every year on Garfield's birthday, and that he has, like, a compilation video that he adds the footage to every year.
I have over 6 hours of video of Garfield eating lasagna. Well, it's not like he does anything else.
Funny that our concern going in was that since we were watching, like, the pilot episode, that it would just be them telling us about, like, who John, like, who Odie is and stuff. This was not the case by any stretch.
No. Could you explain why this was on the wheel in the first place?
One day I was perusing Netflix, as one does, and I came across Garfield the series, of which there are, like, 6 seasons.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember really enjoying Garfield on TV when I was a kid. I don't know if it's the same series, but I was like, I bet it's great. And I was really curious about what it was like. And now I know. This was like an episode, like you were saying, it was like an episode that you would normally get like in the middle of the series and would just be a bottle episode that, you know, it happens and it's never mentioned again and it just, no one knows why it is the way it is. It's just that one episode, but it was the first episode.
It would even make more sense if I'm going to jump into the second part where Garfield ends up hatching baby birds. That one felt more like it would be like the first episode.
Yeah, because it establishes, like, Garfield lives in the neighborhood, there are other cats in the neighborhood, there are animals that he talks to, and he raises some birds for a day. And because he has a cold exterior, but a good heart, doesn't want anyone to know that he's secretly a softie. But instead, for the first episode, we just got Garfield running away from little lasagna monsters who live in the machine from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs in space.
I spent that whole time just so confused.
Yeah.
I'm more confused that I was in the theater of Cars 2.
I believe I know that person. I could be wrong.
But he's not a person, he's a cat.
I had no grasp of what was going on.
Do you think a child would enjoy this episode?
I mean, depends how young they are.
I don't-
If they like
I don't
zero,
think so.
Would they know what
if
was
they
happening?
don't know what's happening, then maybe.
Then the invasion shall commence.
I think Odie understands what's going
years.
on. Because I
You
don't.
didn't
There's
know
a
the
grand
sun
power
would
of 0, so that means
Why
yours
didn't
is
it say
lower.
something? What if it isn't just lasagna? What if ravioli can talk? What if cannoli tries to beat me up? And the garlic bread? Who'll starve?
I didn't know what was happening.
And I didn't enjoy
I spent
it.
the whole
so-
time trying to figure out if it was a dream sequence or not.
It wasn't.
Well, I was convinced until we saw him wake up while the lasagna was still in
He
his
woke up
house.
from his dream and the lasagna was in the house. It seems like it would have happened to Garfield because he ate too much lasagna and then he fell
Yeah,
asleep.
he kind of passed out. So
So it's like he's in a lasagna food coma where he dreams that the lasagna is coming to get him because
Yeah.
he ate so much. But that was not the case.
no.
There
No.
were
I think-
literal lasagna
I think we all thought. I think we all thought that was a dream sequence until way too far into the episode.
Have located the orange creature. It appears to be in a state of deep suspended animation.
Yeah, it's officially not a dream sequence.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure in an early draft of that script, it was a lasagna food coma. But then it went through so many drafts that, like, it just got lost.
I think you're right on that.
Like, that would make so much sense.
There was no reason for Garfield to be asleep.
No.
Because he woke up as soon as the lasagna. It's not like the lasagna was sneaking around while Garfield was asleep. He woke up right when the lasagna came.
They're like, we need to change this or edit it for time. Probably editing it for time. There was
Ah.
probably a scene where he woke up and he was like, oh, that was a crazy dream.
Yeah, because then the only reactions after that is John comes back with the missing piece of lasagna, and he's like, "Oh no, it could be alive." That could have still played if it was a dream.
Yeah, oh, for sure. It would have been
Yeah.
funnier.
Yeah.
It would have been like, oh, now he has an irrational fear of lasagna. But the fear is rational. Because there are, in this universe, lasagna food monsters.
Yeah, he seems pretty unshook by it.
You want to explain what happens at the end of that episode where Garfield reaches into your living room and threatens you?
Okay. So in the second episode, where Garfield ends up taking care of a nest of bluebirds, at the very end, he threatens the audience, "Don't tell anyone I'm a softie." And he leans into the camera and says, "I know where you live."
Okay, so I saved some birds. You didn't see that, okay? I know where you live.
How does he know that? And then it ends.
That's the end. He knows where we live. I didn't wake up this morning thinking, today's the day when Garfield's gonna threaten me.
It was just a bad experience.
Yeah.
like, it just wasn't pleasant.
I know where you live.
I guess I have to do, Lisa Goes Gaga. So what happens is, it starts out you're at a school awards ceremony, and there is an award for least popular student. And the show kind of made a joke about how that's such a bad idea, but like, I think not enough. And
Well, Lady Gaga couldn't arrive soon enough for one Lisa Simpson. Now let's turn to the ever unpopular Popularity Awards. The awards voted by students in judgment of their peers.
like, he was just like, see, I don't know kids.
She actually accepted it. You said they'd take it easy on me.
I know very little about children.
We need
Sorry.
a way to establish that she is unpopular.
Yeah,
How
so-
about an award for the most
So
unpopular?
she wins least popular student.
Now the award for least popular
Yeah.
student, Lisa Simpson.
It spirals into depression, which makes sense. And then, in what's happening, we're seeing splices of Lady Gaga in different elaborate clothing on a train shaped like high heels and breasts.
Yes.
I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just
Had the hair
her
mixed
changing
with
clothes
the
while
Had
talking
lips,
about how
too.
all she cares about is people's self-esteem. That's why she's going to Springfield to save this lost soul she can sense as being in a state of sadness.
We've got to cheer up a whole town. Where's the dress I wore when I met?
Is the joke that Lady Gaga wears a lot of clothes?
but I saw Jennifer
Yeah.
Lopez wearing it.
Is that the whole
Burn it.
joke?
Burn it
Yeah.
now.
Is that going to be the entire episode's joke?
So then she gets there and she's like, Lisa, you have to believe in yourself and love yourself and be your biggest supporter. And Lisa like gives her the finger pretty much.
Yeah.
And then Lady Gaga's all depressed and she's riding away on her boobmobile. And then Lisa's like, no, I was wrong all along. I love myself. And then they drive away and like sing a song.
I'm not really sure what triggered Lisa's change of heart. Like, it seems like she was sad until she wasn't.
Yeah, she was sad until Homer came and started to talk to her, and apparently she tuned him out, and that gave her the mental ability to realize she should love herself?
It wasn't anything Lady Gaga did.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No, it's because she was able to release all of her repressed anger onto Lady Gaga.
Oh yeah, 'cause she yelled at her.
And
Yeah.
then Lady Gaga cried glitter. Because
No,
she
it was
is an
small
angel.
diamonds.
Oh,
She
It's
has all of
very
these
painful.
godlike qualities to her in this episode.
yeah.
I think how this episode was made was Lady Gaga, as like a kid, loved The Simpsons and always wanted to be like in guest star on The Simpsons. And then since someone, I'm picturing her like agent being like, Lady Gaga wants to do this, and they're like, oh my, guest star who's popular and wants to be in our show. Let's make an episode where all we do is have her crammed into every scene, and we're just gonna make her happy by talking about how great she is.
Let's just worship Lady Gaga
Yes.
for 22 minutes.
Yeah.
So while I was watching this, I couldn't, it's not like the jokes didn't land. I couldn't find where the jokes happened.
Yeah.
And it was really dark. Like, there was lots of dark, like, there was lots of dark humor, like, not even dark humor, but just, like, really depressing scenes in this. I think this episode was a drama.
Someone got run over by a train.
Yeah, what happened at the end is Mo, another moment of Mo in this. Mo runs up to Lady Gaga's train in the back, and he says, Lady Gaga, I need help with my self-esteem. She says, I'm sorry, that's too hard for me. You're a lost cause. He looks depressed, walks over, and gets hit by a high-speed train.
Did he know the train was coming?
We brought up the Michael Jackson cameo in early Simpsons in, like, the prison episode.
Yeah, he's like a mental patient or something.
Mhm.
I don't remember.
Or like the other, like Danny DeVito in his guest star, he plays Homer's brother. So like he's not Danny DeVito at all, and he's running this auto company, and he gives Homer too much control, and Homer sends him from like a millionaire to being homeless. Like, this is not Danny DeVito worshiping. He ends the episode as a homeless man with no job, and later
That's
he
a
comes.
joke.
He
Yeah.
comes back in a later episode to like get revenge. Like, he had a character that had an arc that could have existed if it wasn't Danny DeVito. Like, that could have been Hank Azaria or whatever his name is, and that character would have still been funny and worked. If that character wasn't Lady Gaga, she would have been absolutely nothing. We forgot when all of a sudden, okay, so Lady Gaga's like trying to hold hands with Marge, and she's like, no. And all of a sudden, Lady Gaga just goes in and makes out with Marge, and she goes, Homer, she yells Homer. Next thing we know, we see them after an arousing lovemaking session where Homer goes, this is like Hillary after winning the New Hampshire primary.
Wait, did he say it was like Hillary, or did he say it was like when Hillary?
Yeah, I assumed that it meant that like Marge was very passionate about the Democratic. Yeah.
Okay. Wait. How is the Democratic primary similar to Lady Gaga making out with her?
The way I described it was, it's like in Family Guy where they say something to set up like a cutaway reference joke that doesn't make a lot of sense, but like they don't have the cutaway.
Yeah.
It's just they say something that doesn't make a lot of sense.
There should have been a scene where we saw Marge's reaction to Hillary Clinton winning the nomination.
It's a little clip, like a little Arrested Development cutaway joke.
That would have made more sense.
And like Lisa tried to make people like her by lying on the internet, but that wasn't interesting at all.
That didn't really like tie into her Lady Gaga journey.
You know, that's a trend I noticed in these episodes, is like stuff happens, like they go to the church and Devil Wears Nada and nothing happens. Lisa makes a fake identity and nothing happens. Like, there's really no consequences to the actions of the people.
Was there like a B story in this episode? Like the main story was Lisa is sad and Lady Gaga comforts her.
No, the B story was just all the time Lady Gaga spent alone.
But like Lady Gaga wasn't doing anything.
Well, that's because that explains why nothing happened in that episode. I mean,
like in a good sitcom, there's the A story and the B story, and in the end they kind of weave together, and like even just thematically. Whereas this didn't have anything.
Is it time to select the rad of the sad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Caitlin, which would you like to vote for?
Honestly, if I had to watch one of them again, I would go for the Lisa Goes Gaga, because it was bad, but it was like bearable bad.
Okay. What about you, Josh?
You know, even though it's consistently rated as the absolute worst Simpsons episode, I'm gonna have to go with Lisa Goes Gaga, mostly by default.
Yeah.
The Devil Wears Nada made me uncomfortable. The Garfield one
was weird.
No. At least Lisa Goes Gaga didn't try to have jokes, so it wasn't like painfully unfunny, and it had Mo getting run over by a train. So that wins it for me.
I'm conflicted. On the one hand,
you're the only person who could possibly vote for Garfield, so I'm interested.
I'm not voting for Garfield.
That's good.
I'm conflicted between the other two, because while I wouldn't say that I enjoyed The Devil Wears Nada, I wasn't as bored as I was when I was watching Lady Gaga get outfits put on her body. I'm gonna have to go with The Devil Wears Nada.
Okay, I am also going to vote for The Devil Wears Nada because I was at least invested in the plot of this. Like, I was curious to see what was gonna happen
I was
next.
more curious about whether or not Marge and Homer were gonna get it on than I was if Lady Gaga was going to be excellent some more.
Like, do I want to watch Marge stripping for a photo shoot? Absolutely not. But, like, was I paying attention during those scenes? I mean, I was. I was curious to see what on earth was happening. Like, when they were rolling the dice, I was like, what is going on? But I had to keep watching. As opposed to Gaga, where I was just like, can this be over?
Was Gaga the one with the least terrible moments?
Yeah,
Yes.
I would agree with that.
But where were the highs?
Right at the end.
Where were the... other than that guy getting run over by a train. But...
You know...
But The Devil Wears Nada had that guy hanging himself in the river.
Okay, I have come around to your opinion because even though the Lady Gaga one had Mo getting hit by a train, there was also a Mo joke in the other one.
Yes!
A very good one.
Questioning Homer's sexuality.
Yes, Homer's libido hanging itself and drowning itself in a lake, which I enjoyed.
And
sorry.
And the unforgettable moment where what's his name? What was his name? Carl? Where Homer
Yes.
saw those in Carl's.
I can't believe I forgot about that. That wins it for me.
Okay, so the rad of the bad is Devil Wears Nada.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's a bad side.
More,
Yeah. That's it, folks.
That's all, folks.
man, I wanted when Bart gets pregnant. To
Oh, I did too. That's gonna stay on the wheel.
Why do you squish the Skittles?
Don't usually, I just did. These are hard.
You have to figure out which one's strongest. You have to get a whole lot, figure out which one's strongest, and then hit the strongest.
There you go,
one last.
animal crackers.
I know where you live.